And personally, given the kind of character and type of person that Chloe is, I don't see her following Max to Caledon University. So that aged well. So it's been over 11 years since the first Life is Strange. I can scarcely believe it. And recently we had the story with Max and Chloe come to a full circle with Life is Strange Reunion, hence the reason why you're watching this video. Now, before you ask questions, yes, my mic is connected to a ruler. My friend was scolding me for holding it the way that I do, and I don't have anything with me, so we're gonna have to make do with this. Maybe next time I'll buy something more professional, but this is what you've signed up for. Anyway, Life is Strange Reunion. It is actually a pretty fun time. I enjoyed it. Yes. Going from the last game, Life is Strange Double Exposure, there is going to, of course, be some sort of cautious optimism, to say the least, going into this entry, especially with the reception of the last game. And I don't think there's any debate about that. But personally, I liked the last game. And yes, in that very same video you just saw, I did kind of talk about how I shouldn't like that game by almost every metric, given that I am a reviewer and I'm super critical of like most things. I'm also the kind of person who also just kind of goes into media from the approach of, hey, do I enjoy this thing? How does it make me feel by the end? And you know what? I had a fun time with it. Does Life is Strange Double Exposure have problems? Absolutely. But I overall enjoyed my time with it. That one did actually kind of pull on the heartstrings a little bit, especially like moments with Moses and, all the other characters. And it was just nice to see Max finally return and have, okay, maybe not like total peace, but a little bit more, and just see her where she's at that point in time and that point in her life. That was enough for me. Now, I feel like most of the controversy surrounding Double Exposure was really the lack of Chloe, right? I feel like probably like at least half of the fandom weren't really receptive towards it, especially because she wasn't in it. And I don't totally blame them. Like, you have this relationship that's really well built up in the first game, right? But it's Max and Chloe, and you want to see where that goes. Now, as I explained in my video for that review, I talked about how difficult it would to be able to incorporate Chloe into a future game with Max, given the choice at the end of the first game. And I figured that they would essentially have to canonize one or the other. But needless to say, Chloe has returned in Reunion. And actually they did it in a kind of clever way, if I'm being honest. So essentially, if you haven't played Double Exposure, basically Max gets a whole new set of powers where she's able to traverse different realities, so not just one timeline, but another. And essentially, even though a lot of it is kind of BS, to be quite honest, right? If I'm being honest, really the entire series is a little bit, not a whole lot gets explained, but like that's not really the point of the series. It's mostly just vibe based and a whole lot of character development. That's kind of what people come in for it for, like logic you just need to kind of set aside for this series. Anyway, so they basically established that Max has the ability to traverse between multiple timelines. So that means that one timeline, Safi was alive, and then the other one, she wasn't. And so they were able to basically merge the timelines so that she could be alive, could be dead, kind of like Schrodinger's cat, I guess. And they did the same thing with Chloe. And so what they did was they kind of still respected your choice as to whether or not you sacrifice Chloe or not at the end of the first game. If you chose Bay over Bay, but I feel like most people probably chose Bay over Bay, but they still, respect the choice, no matter which one that you've gone with. And they do this by establishing the fact that, yes, she is still in this game, but she kind of exists in both timelines with them being merged. And if she had died in your playthrough, that means that she is starting to get memories of when she was alive. I imagine it's vice versa for the other outcome. Now, this game is kind of different from a lot of the other games in the series, mostly because it isn't episodic. I totally forgot about that fact going in. I actually played this for several hours when it dropped, and I was thinking, wow, this first episode is super long. I wonder when it's ending, because I'm like 4 hours into it, and it's still going. And then I remembered, oh yeah, no, it's just one long playthrough. It's not marked episodically. It is just literally one game that, does have chapters that you can sort of go back to. But yeah, it's meant to be played essentially just in one go. Not necessarily in one sitting, because 10 hours is a lot, so I did break it up a little bit. But Yeah, it's not meant to be episodic like the other games. And I kind of respect that choice because it means that it's not trying to go the route where it's like, oh my god, here's this big thing that happens at the end of the episode so that we can hold you over to the next one. No, it's like, yeah, there are big things happening from scene to scene, sure, but it's nothing like, you know, exceptionally mind-blowing that it's going to be like, oh, I can't wait to find out what happens next. It's kind of just like, it serves its purpose. Now, from the story angle, it's not quite as fleshed out as maybe some of the other games. I still think that the first game and maybe even Life is Strange 2 are my personal favorites. I don't know which one comes out on top for me. I did replay the first game somewhat recently, like last year, and I was gonna do like a retrospective on it. And you know, I didn't find that there was a lot to talk about, to be honest, so I just kind of skipped it. But I did find it didn't age quite as well as I remember it being. And then I also tried out 2 again, and I was like, wow, this actually aged better than I thought it would be. So I'm not entirely sure which one where I would place them, but either way, I wouldn't say that Reunion is on top. Though again, I did enjoy my time with it, and I did with all the other games in the series as well. And I'm not particularly biased towards any one company either. I'm not like, oh my god, whatever Don't Nod puts out is, you know, its absolute peak, and what they touch is as the Midas touch and it turns to gold, right? Whereas whatever Deck 9 puts out is absolute trash and it's garbage because they're not Don't Nod and they ruin the series. No, I'm not like that. I don't care about that. If the game is good, the game is good, and I'm not going to try to, like, you know, have whatever bias and whatever perception I initially had of the other games and the other view of the other company try to, like, taint the vision or the way that I approach the game. Like, if it's a good game, it's a good game. Now, again, in this game, it's not like particularly well fleshed out, but I do appreciate what they try to do. I'm not really going to talk much about what happened specifically because I think this is one of those games where you just kind of have to experience it, and it's all story focused. So, like, yeah, just go into it as blind as possible, I would say. But as far as my expectations go for this game, like, yeah, it served its purpose. And really all it is like the main sort of plot surrounding Max and Chloe is like the main thing, right? That is something that they nail, but I wouldn't say the entire game is a total home run. Like, yeah, the important aspect is that, and they do that really well. But, you know, they do have like a sort of a side plot, or like, I wouldn't even call it a side plot. It's like, it's a main plot for this particular game, but only as a catalyst to serve, you know, Max and Chloe's relationship, just to have an excuse of the two characters being together in this situation. And I would say it's kind of on the weaker side. It's not bad. It's still fine. It's serviceable. It's not like it's totally incoherent, right? And it doesn't make it into like a totally jumbled mess like the last game in some ways. In fact, it's very straightforward and simple, and I appreciate it. But it's nothing to write home about either. It's just like, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens, and the conflict gets resolved. I know I'm like really oversimplifying what it is, because I don't really want to spoil it. I want you to experience it for yourself. But I do think that, yeah, it's serviceable, but it's nothing particularly special, and it just kind of exists so that Max and Chloe can be in the situation together, which is, again, that's all that matters. That's not to say that newer characters were neglected either. In fact, they gave them some level of resolution as well. It's not amazing by any measure, but it's fine. It does the job. It kinda does just, like, rush to tie up those loose ends, but at least those loose ends are tied. So it's really up to you what you make of it. Now, I know what you're gonna say. I know some of you are gonna think that this game is pure fan service, and oh my god, why would you bother getting this game? Why would I bother touching this game with a 10-foot pole if it's nothing but a cash grab? Now, in some ways, I can kind of agree. I can sympathize with, fan service and, having gratuitous cameos and, just jingling keys in front of your face. I absolutely abhor that. Right, so if it's something like what Marvel does, and they're really trying to do whatever they can to win fans back by having those sort of cheaper, flashier cameos and whatever, and just having Cameo City or something, right? Yeah, that stuff I just don't like. But I wouldn't say that's the case here. Now, there may be some argument that you'll say, oh my god, Chloe's just here for the sake of the fans, right? There's no real reason she's here. It's just because people were bitching about it, and now she's here. And you know what? I think there's a difference between just gratuitous fan service, just shoving her in, just for the sake of shoving her in, and actually doing what the fans asked. Because the fans asked for this, right? They wanted to see Chloe return. And now that she has, people are mad about it because they feel like it's only there for fan service reasons. There's no actual reason. But she plays a very large part in this game, and I think they really sum up a lot of, their arc really well. Now, is this game an absolute tearjerker? I wouldn't say so. There are probably a few moments here and there, like every Life is Strange game is. But yeah, I mean, I think they do it well enough. And maybe towards the end, you might feel a little bit more of that, especially when they wrap things up. And one of the final choices, I think, is a really good one, especially with Max's arc. Now, again, I don't want to spoil anything or where they go with it, but I think it's pretty compelling. It does the job. Now, as for where the game goes after this, or the series goes after this, I have no idea. I think they're still gonna go, or they at least insinuate that they're gonna go maybe the Avengers route, like that they teased and implied at the end of Double Exposure. But yeah, and honestly, I hope that's not the route that they go. They might, and I only feel that way because of some of the things that they teased with Diamond and her messages and whatever, and I assume she's going to have her own game, although I don't know if it's entirely like this, like, team-building Nick Fury type thing, or maybe they were planning on doing that, and now it's not so much that. I have no idea, right? So where the franchise goes from here, who can say? Right? But as far as this game goes, in particular, I think they did a pretty great job. And I do think it's worth checking out. Now, I haven't seen any reviews or what anybody else has been saying about this game, because I wanted my thoughts to be pure and unfiltered and not tainted by anyone else's views and the way that they're sort of seeing this game. But yeah, like, I enjoyed it. I had fun. And, it was nice to be able to play as both protagonists, Max and Chloe, right? And as Chloe, they also introduced the bantering system, I think it's called. And I believe this was also introduced in Before the Storm, apparently. I don't quite recall it being in there, but then again, I haven't played that in so many years, so who's to say? But the way that they implement it in here, I think, is really well done. And it's a cool little extra thing to throw in, just to have a bit more of that gameplay aspect and uniqueness to Chloe. And it actually can somewhat affect some of the choices as well, depending on how well you are able to do with that banter. Now, while still on the topic of Chloe, I should mention one vital thing. Ashly Burch did not return for this role. Instead, they got Rihanna DeVries. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If that name sounds familiar, that's because it should be. She was the one who played Chloe in Before the Storm, so she's no stranger to the franchise. Now, I know a lot of people absolutely would love and kill to hear Ashly Burch reprise her role, but unfortunately that's not the case here. I don't know what the reason is. I believe they didn't even ask her to return for whatever reason, but you know what? I don't think it's really bothered me that much, as much as I would love to have heard her as well. Though I do think that Rihanna does a really good job. And it's not like she's trying to, just mimic what Ashly Burch does either. I think she kind of just brings her own sort of flavor to it, right, in a believable way, because I feel like if you do try to imitate someone, it just sounds like you're parroting and it becomes like a cheap imitation, whereas this actually feels, genuine. And now there are actual moments where you do kind of hear a little bit of Ashly in her voice here and there, like you will recognize Chloe, but for the most part, yeah, she does sound quite different. Again, I don't mind the change that much. It's not like it's someone totally new to the franchise either. So yeah, but it is worth mentioning and to keep that in mind. Now, the other aspect I wanted to talk about and touch on is really the performance side of things. I didn't think I was going to talk about performance for a Life is Strange video, especially a video kind of structured like this, but here we are. But I do feel like it is really important to talk about and really important to note. I played this on the PS5 Pro, and there are a lot of technical glitches, or more so than usual, more that I came to notice. There is a lot of texture pop-in. I think there probably was some level in the other games, but nothing like egregious or anything. This one, it's much more noticeable, the pop-in. Like, I don't know if it's just like I have this sort of, technical performance mindset now, where I notice these small little things more so. But I do feel like a lot of the pop-in was extremely noticeable, and like some of the textures and the quality was just not up to par or like what I thought it should be by now. Now I do think that they have released a few patches since, but I played this at launch, and you know, they probably will continue to patch it. But my experience on the PS5 Pro has been decent enough for me to be able to overlook some of these things, but there were a number of times where it just was a little bit in my face, especially this one particular part where like the scene loads in and like the colors are totally inverted, and I'm like, is this supposed to be a night scene or a day scene? What is going on? And I tried reloading it, and you know, nothing happened. Then I quit the game and I restarted it, and then everything was fine. So there are a couple like visual glitches here and there, and while this isn't something that is a total big deal, it might be for some of you. Like, it might be more of like one of those things where it's like, okay, you know what, maybe I can hold off on this, wait for patches to come in, wait for a sale. But also, on the other hand, this game, like other Life is Strange games, isn't full price. I think it's decently priced. It could be a little bit cheaper, on the cheaper end, but you know what? I mean, I can still see the argument of it being, you know, a little bit still on the more expensive side, especially given how much gaming has exploded in terms of, you know, pricing and everything. So yeah, if you want to wait for a sale, go for it. If you are really dying to find out what happens with Max and Chloe, well, then, you know, there's only really one option. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Life is Strange Reunion. Have you played it? What did you think? Let me know down below. And until next time, as always, I'll see you guys soon.